This is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage, your place for all things Wisconsin sports. Now, your host, Trage.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we're coming in here on this Saturday. I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday so far, probably less than you enjoyed Friday, because Friday the weather was fantastic, and, well, today it's a little bit chilly. Tomorrow's going to be chilly. Next week looks nice, though. Next week looks nice, so we just got to prepare ourselves for the heat wave that'll be next week there. So I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday, your weekend so far, since we talked this last Wednesday here. We came off Wednesday's show, and we kind of talked about the Oregon game that was coming up that night. And I said, man, this is just a game that they should have, blah, blah, blah. The Badgers there, and, well, they should have. When I fell asleep, it was 21-12, and I felt like they had it. I was just like, yeah, they got this. I'm going to go to bed. And then I woke up to the notification that they lost 85-71, and I was like, what happened in between? So Christian and I, we're going to talk about it today. There's probably going to be it's going to be a therapy session. Let's go with that. It's going to be a therapy session. So make sure you guys check that out later on here in the show. So we have that coming up later on. We have the Wisco Fanatics fellas. I think just Tyler will be here today. We're going to talk a little Bucks with him. Almer's going to stop by. We're going to talk some Packers there. Special teams hired. Got a new special teams coordinator to talk about there. So we're going to get into that. So lots of stuff to dive into today here on the show. I want you guys to know that on yesterday there, Evan from Ridgetop Exteriors did stop by. If you guys listened to the Wednesday show, I said I couldn't remember when the appointment was supposed to be. I knew it was Friday. I didn't know what time. Well, they are fantastic. They sent me a notification that they were coming, and it was going to be 4 o'clock, a reminder, right? You love those. You got to love reminders, because if you're like me, I just forget everything. So when they send you those text reminders, it's awesome. So make sure you check out Ridgetop Exteriors. They do awesome work. I got a free estimate on my roof there. Now we're going through the numbers and everything like that. So if I had to recommend anybody, I would recommend Ridgetop Exteriors to all you guys out there. Make sure, if you can, talk to Evan. He's fantastic. We were talking about a little bit of everything there for a while, and then we're like, yeah, we got to, talk about a roof now. So anyways, lots to dive into today here on the show. I want to start out with a little bit of Brewer talk to get to start it out. Just some things that I've been seeing out of spring. First off, has got to be Tyler Black, who has been absolutely fantastic to start the year down there at spring training. Absolutely fantastic from what we've seen. So that begs the question of, okay, Tyler Black's been good. A lot of people have talked about him being that first base kind of guy for you. He's been, being that backup first baseman. I'm thinking if I'm the Brewers, I'm trying him out at third. I want to make him a super utility guy, because when I look at this roster and I say, okay, first base, Andrew Vaughn, Jake Bauers, right? Jake Bauers can play the outfield a little bit there, but you have him as that backup first baseman, Andrew Vaughn. Infield, on the other side there, still some question marks, right? You bring in Reintegration. You think that he's probably going to be your third baseman. And then you have Joey Ortiz at short. Joey Ortiz bat, who knows, right? Terang at second base, that's no-brainer. Terang's going to be in there in some way, shape, or form. But Tyler Black's ability to play third base brings into a lot of different, his ability to play third, but also second, brings into the conversation, moving him over. If Reintegration isn't producing, you can move him over to third. He can be your third baseman. Or, I know you can only weigh spring training stats so much, but what I've seen right now, the long ball's been there. He's been mashing the baseball. So when you're looking at spring, you say, okay, is it just little flares out to the outfield, or is this guy actually making really good contact? And Tyler Black is seeing the ball really well right now in spring. So that's why I'm excited to talk about this. So I'm looking at him maybe being that third baseman if Reintegration's not working, or I know you don't want to take Joey Ortiz out of the field, but could you see maybe moving Terang over to short and then putting Tyler Black at second base if the bat's producing? All question marks the Brewers are going to have to address. But if I'm the Brewers right now, I'm trying to work him into that third base position, maybe even second base, just see what he has down there in spring training. So just, what I've been seeing out of Tyler Black, I love it at the plate right now. Another guy that I was excited to watch was Abner Uribe. Broke out the changeup. And I know StatCast listed it as a sinker, but when it's 91 mile per hour off of his fastball that's sitting around 98, it's not a sinker. He didn't slow it down there to throw a sinker. It's a changeup. And if he works that changeup and can find consistency with that changeup, add that in with his slider and his fastball that he already has, that's a dangerous closer. Or setup man to Trevor McGill, however that works out. We're going to end up talking about closers here coming up at some point. But seeing Abner Uribe add that third pitch into there, the pitching lab doing its work once again for the Brewers, I'm excited. I'm excited because if you get a closer, I mean, you talk about closers and their ability to work two pitches, right? Devin Williams with this fastball in his changeup there. And then you had Josh Hader with the fastball and the breaking ball there for a while. It seemed like he only threw a fastball. But when you get a guy like Abner Uribe, who already is very underrated for what he does, and you add in that third pitch to that mix, and if he can throw it consistently and get that bite on it, wow. I mean, Abner Uribe, aiming for a big season here. I'm excited when I saw that down there. So just some Brewer tidbits that I wanted to start the show off with. But we have to do a little short intro today because we have a lot coming at you. Ummer's coming up next. We're going to get to him. We're going to talk some Packers. Then we have the Wisco Fanatics guys coming by. Tyler's going to stop by. We're going to talk a little Bucks. And then Christian, to wrap up the show here today, we're going to talk some Badgers. This is just the start of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. We'll be right back here after this quick Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we're coming back in here on this Saturday. Ummer's stopping by. We're going to talk a little Packers here. We got a lot, well, some speculation to get into, what we want to see, and then a new hire. So we got to get into a lot today here, Ummer. How are we doing on this Saturday?
I'm great, man. I'm just enjoying the weekend. It's been a tough week. And then I'm just, taking in all the combine stuff. I've been playing on my TV basically 24/7 around the clock. I love watching these young men run around, basically perform on the combine and try to show the NFL and the country just how good they really are, and just seeing them perform in a way where they can have an opportunity to be an NFL team. I love that.
Yeah, I have to readdress my comments from Wednesday.
I'll give you a win on that.
So I got some hate. I got some hate going on off my comments on Wednesday, and I feel like I need to address them because I didn't word what I was trying to say correctly. We should go back to that. So on Wednesday, we were talking about the combine a little bit, and the way that I phrased it may have come across as I didn't care about the combine at all. And that's not true. I want to put that out there. That's not true. The combine is important. I find it to be important. I don't find it to be as big of a metric as maybe some people do, where everybody puts in and says, like, the combine is the most important thing. I don't find it to be the most important thing. I'm more of a game film. How did this guy do in a game kind of guy? Like, that's where I like to look back to, is see the stats that he put up, what he did when he played in a really high stakes game. Let's just say it's a quarterback and he played for Georgia and they were in the SEC championship game and they were playing against Alabama. How did he play in that game? How did he react in the fourth quarter? Like, those are the things that, I was thinking about a movie. This is how I was thinking about it. I was thinking about a movie. I was thinking about Draft Day, right? And they're talking about that. What the heck is that guy's name? The linebacker. I can't remember the linebacker's name that they really wanted. Vontae Mack was his name, I think. It was Vontae Mack. And they were talking about, should they draft him or should they draft that quarterback? Who's the quarterback, Ummer, in Draft Day? The big one that they all wanted from Wisconsin. Man. That's going to bite you.
The corner or quarterback?
The quarterback from Wisconsin that everybody wanted, but then Sonny wouldn't take him. Who is that quarterback's name?
Oh, wasn't it Graham Merritt?
No, that was a real quarterback. The quarterback in the movie. I can't remember in the movie what the quarterback. That's gonna drive.
Bo Callahan.
Bo Callahan. Everybody wanted Bo Callahan, and then they went back and they looked at the tape and they're like, when did Bo look really good against Ohio State in that game? And it was when Mac was on the sideline. And I was like, that just got me thinking. It's like, I like looking at that game film, seeing all that. So I want everybody out there to know that I'm not hating on the combine. I like watching the guys run. I like seeing the stats, the vertical jump, everything like that. I mean, there's a guy from Wisconsin, Mason Rieger, that if he drafts late in the draft, I would be okay with the Packers grabbing him there late in the draft there as an edge guy, because man, oh man, he's putting up some. I don't think he's going to drop far enough for the Packers to want. I don't know. The Packers should grab him. I'm just all in on Wisconsin guys, because the Packers have missed on too many Wisconsin guys. I just want to see the Packers draft one of them at this point here, because they just completely missed on them, and then they go elsewhere and they do really good. So anyways. anyways. I just wanted to address, I respect the combine. I like the combine. I just want to address that off the top here. So there you go. I'm all in on the combine, just so everybody knows. I like watching game film too, and I just don't think the combine stats are everything. That's just what I wanted to say there on Wednesday. So, Amr, that's enough about me.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that take.
I was hoping people would understand, and I think I probably phrased it wrong because I start talking and then my words start going everywhere, and everybody knows it's like word salad then, and it all gets confusing. So I just want everybody to know I think the combine's important. So that's all that needs to be said there.
Yes, sir.
So let's jump over to the Packers here. Let's talk about what we saw, the new hire, right? Matt LaFleur is kind of in this weird time right now where he has to hire a special teams coordinator while trying to figure out everything else. Well, his GM's currently sitting at the combine while everything's getting hectic out there with that. And now we see the hire that was made, the assistant special teams coordinator with the Patriots, I believe is where he last was Giants, where he last was the Giants. He was with the Patriots at one point. There you
go. That's where he actually coordinated for a little bit.
Okay, so Cameron Achord is his name. I spent time a little bit everywhere at this point. I was just trying to pull up his coaching career so we could see that. He was with man, he was going back to 2010 when he was a graduate assistant. He was at Southern Mississippi, the Golden Eagles down there. And then he ended up in a community college, worked his way up, ended up with the Patriots in 2018 as the assistant special teams coach, was there through 2023, and then ended up going to the Giants in 2024, where he was again the assistant special teams coordinator for both of those seasons there. So he was the special teams coordinator, like you were saying there, from 2020 until 2023 with the New England Patriots. Had some success. His punt return units were pretty good, and then his kick returns were pretty good. It just slowly declined over the years there with the Patriots, and that has to do with talent too. You look at the roster, you look at who you have on the roster too, and that also leads to the decline there. So the Packers get their hire. He's an assistant, right? So you don't have a lot to go on, I guess, because you can go back to the 2020 through 2023 seasons with the Patriots and look at all the stats. But then I also feel like you have to go back and look at the rosters too. You can't just weigh it in off the stats that they had there. So, you saw the hire. Good hire, bad hire. I'm kind of in the mode where it's like, I got to see it work out now. I just got to see it on the field at this point here and see it work out if it does or it doesn't. That's kind of where I'm at with this hire.
I'm indifferent. I'm very indifferent because I did want Fitzsimmons, the guy out of Seattle. He's an assistant Seattle guy in Seattle, had one of the best special teams in the league this year. I know Rashid Shaheed helped with that a lot, but the thing with Cam is, he has been I think the reason why LaFleur went with him because he has been a coordinator before. He did have the number one ranked special teams in 2020, and then it fell off in 2021, 2022, and 2023. 2021, 2022. And even though he was one and then he was basically mid for the other 2 years, again, he still had better, I would say, special teams than Rich Bisaccia ever has. He's a young dude. He's 29. And the fact that he's had players like, Michael Slater, who's probably one of the most decorated special team players in the league right now, all pro multiple years, who gave a very strong winning endorsement for him when Joe Judge left and he became the coordinator in New England. So for me, I feel like, you're at the point now where you're mid-February, you got to make a hire. He brought in 4 guys for second interviews. I'm okay with it because I think, for the most part, he got a guy that has experience in the NFL who has coordinated before, and for the most part has had average to extremely strong special teams. So I'll take it, and I'll hold out reservation and judgment until I see what happens in the first 4 games. So I'll give him the first 4 games, right? And again, it just sucks that when you go back and read a little bit more on Rich Bisaccia, you find out that he was actually going back and forth about coming back this year. Like, he really wasn't really confident in wanting to be special team coordinator for Green Bay. And that I think the Packers wanted him back, and they were blindsided by his decision. I've made jokes that Zane Anderson is not being restricted, is not being tendered. So that's why he's like, I'm out. And I just think it's just funny. I was just being jokey. But truth be told, Rich kind of did put us in a really bad bind because of the fact that there's a lot of guys that are available in the beginning of the year that we don't see now. And so we had to, kind of pick what was left kind of thing, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who the coordinator is. if when it comes to Goody and the way he is creating the bottom of the roster and making sure that there's players that are startable as well as players that are good special team players. Because he is not tendering Emmanuel Wilson. He is not tendering Zane Anderson, even though I think he wants to bring back Zane on a cheaper deal. They're going to have to really make sure that they either draft or bring in some free agents that are excellent at special teams. Because right now, we've lost so many games in the last 10, 15 years because of special teams. We really, really need to have an above average to average special teams. We can't have anything in the 20s or below. I need something 15 or higher this year. That's not a really high bar to clear.
Right.
But for us in Green Bay, it is.
Yeah, I'd take 20 at this point here.
Seriously.
I'd be in the 20 range and I'd be okay. You mentioned something there where it's, they wanted Rich back. They wanted him back as special teams coordinator. He was uncertain. I wonder if you would have because he's a great locker room presence, the great guy. It seems like he keeps the morale in there and everything. I wonder if you would have just stepped back and said, hey, we could hire an assistant special teams coordinator. He can coordinate basically everything. You just stay in here as a consultant. You stay in here as that, right-hand man to Matt LaFleur or that kind of thing. I wonder if that would have worked out. I don't know. I don't know how it all went down. Nobody does. But all we know is that the Packers made their hire. I just looked up the stats here. In 2020, they had a punt coverage unit. So that was when he was with the Patriots yet. In 2020, the punt coverage unit was third in opponent net punting at 37.9 yards and kickoff returns. So, looked pretty good there in 2020 with the Patriots. It just, like we said, the decline happened with the Patriots. And, like we said, that could happen with talent because like you just mentioned with Goody, getting the right guys on the back end there to help out on special teams, that's a huge factor. So definitely have to look into that. And then, you talk about with the Giants there, he had guys like Isaiah Simmons on there and multiple different guys. Their kicking team wasn't bad. They were converting at a pretty good rate. When it all went south was that game against the Bears where they just started missing kicks left and right. That's where it kind of all went south with the Giants there. Otherwise, they had a pretty good year going until that point. They were 92%, 13 for 14 through mid-November. And then, the high pressure situation of the Bears game and everything kind of went south there, but his kicking teams have been pretty good. So there's stats you can look at to say this guy's going to be good. There's stats that look at to say he's going to be bad. We're just saying that he's been an assistant for the past 2 years. And then you look back further and that was kind of when the Patriots were in this middle ground period where everything was kind of falling apart with them at that point there. So, and coaching changes were happening. Coaching change happened in 2023. That's why he lost his job there with the Patriots in 2023. That's when the big coaching change happened. But lots of factors can lead into it. So we'll wait and see. Packers got their special teams guys. So one last thing I wanted to hit today here on the show. We had a question come in from a listener. And if you want to send me a question, make sure you do it across Facebook there. We can hit these every week on the show here. If you want to send me a question on Facebook, do it. Messenger, you can message me, Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Otherwise, hit the text in line, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. You can hit text in line and send us questions every single week there. But is Malik Willis QB1 material? So that was a question we had because a lot of people are looking at it, and I think he's listed on a lot of lists as the number one free agent out there at this point. Number two? He's number two now?
No, just time.
Oh, gotcha. Amer's throwing hand signals up at me, and I'm getting confused over here.
My bad.
As long as it wasn't the middle finger, I'm doing fine over here. Malik Willis is listed as the number one free agent out there on a lot of listings, and that's because the quarterback draft this time around isn't very good. You have Fernando Mendoza, and then it kind of goes south. So Malik Willis is hot commodity. So the question for a lot of people are having is Malik Willis number one guy? Can he be the number one guy somewhere? And I think so.
Yeah.
I just think he has to be in the right place, right? Because he didn't work with the Titans, but then Matt LaFleur gets his hands on him and he looks great. Yeah. So if you get him in the right area, and I got a guy down there in Arizona who's related to Matt LaFleur, and I just got that feeling that if he went down there, I feel like he could give a call to his brother and he could say, hey, how do you work with this guy? And then Matt's going to be like, well, I ain't going to give you all the secrets, man. But I can tell you what maybe worked, and you can go back and look at the film, and I think that those two kind of see eye to eye on things. So maybe a place like Arizona with a pretty good offensive-minded head coach might work out for him. I just look at some situations, and I say if he gets in the right spot with the right coach, yes, Now, if there's just some team out there who's going to say, well, we could use, his talents like the Raiders or somebody, I don't think they will because I think they're going to get Mendoza. But if a team like that came calling, I don't know. Kubiak's there, right? Kubiak's going to be there.
Yep.
It might work out. I don't know. It might work out.
Yeah, time with Shanahan. So, I mean, he's
right. It might work out there, but I mean, there's some destinations where it definitely would probably be hectic once again for him. So, I mean, is Malik Willis QB1 material?
Yes, I think he is. I think that he's gone through a lot of adversity being a third-round pick coming out of Liberty. He needed time to develop. He didn't get that in Tennessee. He got that in Green Bay. And he showed that every time he came into a game, he showed that he could play and he could show out. And he just found ways to win games or keep the Packers competitive. And I think that if he gets an opportunity to go to a team that runs a similar system like LaFleur's, like Mike LaFleur will probably run, or I don't want him to go to KOC in Minnesota, but same thing there. Right. Or if some crazy reason the Niners go for him because they're trying to have some second thoughts about Brock Purdy, there are opportunities, or even for that matter, going to I would want him to be a starter somewhere, right? And I really do feel like Arizona his best spot. He's a very young team. Lots of good weapons with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. Then on top of that, you got Mike LaFleur going there, who's going to probably run the same offense that Shanahan and LaFleur and McVay run, right? And honestly, let's say he goes to Arizona for a year or two, does his thing there, and then either he becomes the all-time starter there, or by then Stafford retires, and then McVay needs a quarterback, right? And then he goes to McVay, and he kind of runs the gauntlet of that, NFC West, division. But the truth be told is that every time we need him to perform, he has performed. Has he gotten banged up and that's caused him to not play well? Yes. But he's a good quarterback. And it's just that if you listen to the way he speaks, he has a moxie of him that you could just tell he's just built differently. He doesn't, he's very faith-based. He doesn't get too caught up in the media. He doesn't try to make things about himself. And I love that about him. And I think he's a very selfless kind of guy. And I think that's the kind of guy that you need as a quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Love, who's not all about the bravado, not about all this big talk and stuff like that. Just goes in there, gets his job done, and just try to do the best he can for his team, which is exactly what Malik does, the same thing that Jordan does. I think I'm looking forward to see what kind of contract he gets, because the bigger contract he gets, the better compensatory pick we'll get. And truth be told, he has a great opportunity, I think, to maybe really make a name for himself in Arizona if that's where he does end up.
I completely agree. I wish he wasn't so good so that the Packers could keep him around. That's all I know. So Amr, I got to run here. Let the people know where to find you out there across social media.
Trey, thanks for having me again. Hope you have a great weekend. Find me on Twitter at AMAR3455, Coast to Coast Packers everywhere else. You can always add me on there, and then always DM me if you guys have any questions or comments or whatever you need. And let's just chop it up about Packers. It's a great time right now, off season, so we got a lot of things we can talk about.
Definitely check him out there. He's got fantastic stuff there. He's on a lot of different shows, so keep in tune for those too. He's got a lot of different shows that he's on out there. So thank you as always, Amr. When we come back from the break here, Christian's going to stop by. We're going to talk a little Badgers. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we're coming back in here on this Saturday. I have Tyler here from the Wisco Fanatics. I can't keep him from his Chinese food for too long, so we got to get this thing moving here. So Tyler, how we doing on this Saturday?
Not bad. Glad it's the weekend.
Me too. Badgers play today. I'm praying for a bounce back game after what we watched in Oregon there. I did not stay up for it. I told people that I wasn't going to stay up, and I held true to that. I did not stay up, and thank goodness I didn't, because I didn't miss much. I definitely did not miss much there in Eugene. So what we're missing a lot of right now is Bucks basketball. I mean, Bucks coming out the All-Star break, been looking good. They went into the All-Star break looking good. Coming out the backside, looking good. I mean, Tyler, as of late here, these Bucks, Tuesday got the win against Miami. Wednesday got the win against Cleveland. As we're recording, it's Friday, so they're playing the Knicks tonight. We're not going to know the outcome of that one. But as of late, the Bucks are looking really good.
Yeah. 5 out of 6 going into the All-Star break, 3 out of 4 since coming out, if my math is correct. So obviously there's a lot been made of them being 8-10 or 8-2 in their last 10. So yeah, definitely trending in the good direction.
You know what I've loved as of late here, and I was messaging you guys about it the other night, there is the balanced scoring from this team. You go in there and you look at the box score from these games here, and you see double digits all throughout the starting lineup, and even onto the bench you have double digits. Just kind of talk about that. The balanced scoring from this team. I know Giannis isn't there, but this balanced scoring has just been, something you don't see a lot of in the NBA.
So one of the biggest things that Jake and I talk about on our show, and it goes to a guy that we're going to spend plenty of time talking about, I'm sure, in Kevin Porter Jr., but when the team is moving the ball, when the ball movement is there, the vision of John Horst, what he had in mind going into this season, kind of starts to show like, hey, maybe he put together a decent roster here, and we just needed to be kind of doing things right. And ball movement is I would say it's probably the biggest marker of success for the Bucks, is when the ball is moving well and it's flowing and guys are flowing and not forcing, which is a couple of terms that I've been using to describe guys like Ryan Rollins and Bobby Portis. When those guys are flowing and they're playing within the flow of the game and not forcing shots, like a 0 or 1 pass possession and, being kind of black holes on offense. When the ball is flowing, this team, it has so many guys that are capable of scoring. So the balanced scoring, to me, it comes down to ball movement.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you watch some of these games out here, and you mentioned guys like Rollins and Portis there, but then you see guys like Pete Nance when he gets involved in the passing game too there. I mean, that ball just whistles around. And it makes you wonder, and I guess this is going to be an outside of the realm of what we're in right now, but how do you, when you bring back Giannis, because we are on this Giannis watch right now, he could come back anytime now. We're expecting most likely in the coming weeks. But when Giannis does come back, how do you, if you're Doc Rivers, if you're the Bucks, how do you bring Giannis back into this and keep what you have going? Because I think sometimes that can become a hard thing, because when the star comes back, everybody's like, oh, we got to get Giannis going, get Giannis going. And, Giannis has got upset about that and saying, well, guys, you guys get yours too. Like, I don't need the ball every time down the floor. So if you're Doc Rivers, if you're the Bucks, how do you bring back Giannis into this? And it seems crazy to say, how do you bring back Giannis, right? But how do you keep this same flow while implementing Giannis back into the offense, back onto this roster?
So we are sitting and watching, like wondering when Giannis is going to be back on the floor. But right now, Giannis is already playing with the team. He's doing, you listen to Doc, he said they're doing 3-on-3, 4-on-4. They haven't done much 5-on-5 stuff. He said they don't always, but they're already kind of working on that. So my hope is that guys are kind of starting to get the feel of how that's going to look. And honestly, it's going to come kind of, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you view him, it's going to come a lot of the expense of Kyle Kuzma.
Okay.
He's the guy who's going to go from the starting lineup to the bench back into his great value Giannis role as the backup power forward. And that's going to be the challenge for Doc, is having a stacked front court, because you have a guy like Jericho Sims. You mentioned Pete Nance as a guy that's comes in and helps move the ball, but Jericho Sims is coming in and help moving the ball. He had 5 assists, a career high in a game against Miami the other night. And you look at it and it's like, you can't take Sims off the floor. You can't take Miles Turner off the floor because his defense is too valuable and he still stretches the floor. You don't want to take Bobby Portis off the floor unless he's having a bad shooting night. You want to give Pete Nance minutes to help him develop, and you want to give Ousmane Dieng minutes to help him develop. So unfortunately, it's going to come a lot at the expense of Kyle Kuzma. But back to your original question, like, they should be working on that now already. And they should say, everybody else, keep doing what you're doing, moving the ball, taking good shots, flowing. And then we're also going to add a top 5 NBA player to that mix.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. And, just kind of talking about all the pieces that you were just mentioning there, do you feel like the Bucks are really deep now when you really look at it and the amount of guys that they're able to work into this? I feel like we're talking playoffs now, we're getting crazy with it, but when you get into one of those play-in tournaments and then you're going to have those drag games there, you have a deep roster now, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think that's how John Horst came into the season, looking at it like, okay, we're going to have Giannis and 9 guys that can play in our rotation. And I understand that's, it hasn't worked out perfectly. And obviously they flipped 2 of those guys, Cole Anthony and Amir Coffey, and turned it into Ousmane Dieng and Cam Thomas. And I mean, another guy that you can mention in that obviously is Cam Thomas, but you can also throw Gary Trent Jr. in there, who hasn't played in like a week and a half. I mean, obviously Andre Jackson Jr. was kind of always, an edge of the roster guy, but I mean, those are guys that were kind of figured in as rotational guys. Obviously, Gary Trent Jr. has started games for the Bucks, but the way that other guys are playing right now, you don't need to force those guys into the lineup. So that depth is kind of starting to rise to what we hoped to see like 3 months ago.
Right. No, and you think about a guy like Giannis coming back from injury too and working back into the game flow. You don't need Giannis to play 35 minutes right off the bat. He can come back in and slowly be implemented back into this because of, like you said, the depth of that front court. You have a lot of guys who can jump into that role, not quite to the Giannis level, but those guys are still being influential parts to this team right now. And then you bring Giannis back into the fold, work him back in a little bit slower, let him ramp up, let him get slowly into it. Like, it's a huge thing for a team like this.
It's not necessarily that the guys are going to occupy Giannis's, capabilities, but guys like Kyle Kuzma and Ousmane Dieng can occupy that role, like that point forward role. They can occupy the role without saying that obviously, like, these guys are not Giannis, like nobody is. But that's why I've been saying with Kyle Kuzma that he's doing the kind of great value Giannis thing, where he's giving you, I don't want to say like a watered down version, because Kyle Kuzma still plays hard. He does well driving downhill and getting to the basket. He's just not as good as Giannis, and like obviously nobody is. So like that play style, that's what to me stuck out as calling Kyle Kuzma great value Giannis, is so that everybody else can still play in a similar play style as to when Giannis comes back. So that's what I'm kind of hoping, is that they're just saying like, okay, Kyle Kuzma, play like Giannis, and everybody else just pretend Kuzma is Giannis, and that's how we're going to operate in practice.
Right. Yeah. No, he's been calling Kuzma, sorry. He's been calling Kuzma great value Giannis for months now. If you guys are just tuning into the show for the first time. I mean, Tyler, first thing I ever heard out of his mouth is Kyle Kuzma is the great value Giannis. And I was like, yeah, pretty much there. And yeah, I agree 100%. You're never going to replace the talent and all that, but you bring these guys in who are able to play the role. Not necessarily to the skill level, but play the role, occupy that spot on the court there to give, like we're talking, give Giannis that time to ramp up, get back into game flow, get back into being himself out there. You don't want to rush, especially with an injury like he had. You don't want to rush.
Especially when they're winning. Like that's the other part of it is like, yeah, you can get him back when you can get him back, but I mean, I'm not expecting them to win the next 8 out of 10 again and win 16 out of 20. That'd be fantastic, but I'm not going to say that I'm expecting that. But if they're winning, I mean, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, 6 out of 9, just kind of staying right around that 60% of their games, they're not going to rush him back to put him in for 25 minutes. They could, but they don't really need to. And I think that puts a little bit of pressure on Giannis too. I feel like, and he's talked about it a little bit, is when he comes back maybe a little bit early, that he tries to pack 35 minutes of game action into 25 minutes. And that makes him a little bit sloppy at times, I think. But again, if you can get him to 100% before bringing him back and he doesn't have to play on a minutes restriction, that would be the ideal scenario.
Yeah. No, I 100. And I mean, you look at the schedule that they have coming up. Like we said, you have New York on Friday night there as we're recording here. But then you have Chicago. Then you do play Boston. But then you have Atlanta. You play Utah. You have Orlando. I mean, those are all games with the roster currently as constructed. They just came off a win against Cleveland, who is one of the better teams in the East. So you look at that schedule they have coming up. There is no. I mean, the East is kind of wide open. I mean, everybody said it at this point. It's kind of wide open. So you look at the schedule coming up. It's like you don't have to force Giannis back to try and win a stretch of games. I guess. I mean, is that wrong to say? Like, you don't have to. Looking at the schedule, there's no point where you say like this is a gauntlet. We really have to force the issue in these moments.
So the way I'm looking at it is tomorrow is going to be at Chicago, and then they have 5 straight home games. So you're looking at 5 out of the next 6 at home. I'm looking at one of those games being the game that Giannis comes back. But I think if you want to try to get through the middle of March stretch where they go at Miami, at Atlanta, versus Indy, like if you try to get through those 3 games, those are 3 games I think you can win without Giannis in an ideal scenario. And then you look at Thursday the 17th, they play home against Cleveland, but then they're on the West Coast. They're at Utah, at Phoenix, at LA Clippers, at Portland. I mean, those are games, again, if you're firing on all cylinders through the first 2 weeks of March and you don't have to rush Giannis back, then you have a 3-game homestand to end the month of March, and maybe you can give Giannis until the beginning of April, and you give Giannis the 7 games that they have in April as his ramp up for the playoffs, as long as things continue going well in March.
Yeah. No, like I'm looking at it like you just were mentioning off the schedule there. I look at it that 17th of March there against Cleveland. That just sticks out to me as like the perfect time. Not rushing
especially if Evan Mobley Donovan Mitchell and James Harden are back, and if you're hovering around that like 8-9 area, and you're like, okay, a win against Cleveland can really help us, then I think that might be the game where they look at him back.
Yeah, it just seems like a perfect time, right? You have a home game before the West Coast swing. You don't want to bring him back on the West Coast. You want to bring him back in a home game, most likely. I mean, it just feels better. I would say, yeah, that Cleveland spot looks like a pretty good, even if you went maybe a couple days before on that Sunday against Indiana to maybe get his feet wet back into it before Cleveland. Doesn't seem like a bad idea, too, because the Cleveland game seems like a little bit more of a high-stakes, high-pressure game, right? Especially if you're hovering in that spot. So maybe a Pacers game on the 15th there, but 100% don't rush anything back. I completely agree with you there. So the Bucks tomorrow. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
I just said, especially if you keep winning.
Exactly. If you keep winning games like you are right now, there's no point on rushing back Giannis at all. I mean, I hate load management as much as the next guy, but this isn't an injury also that you rush. This has nothing to do with load management. This is not rushing a guy back from an injury that is taking
progress bar hit 100.
Yes, because we've seen this type of injury lead to a bigger injury, lead to whole season loss. So you don't want that in a season like this for a guy, especially if you're the Bucks and a guy in Giannis who's leading into a contract year, leading into a possible, we're not going to speculate trades or anything crazy like that, but leading into all that madness, you don't want that at all. So if you're the Bucks, get him 100%. So Tyler, let's flip gears. Bucks coming up next. They have, like you said, Chicago coming up tomorrow at Chicago, and then Boston coming up on Monday. We'll talk about those games, recap them on the Wednesday show next week. But I did see something interesting come from the Brewers, flipping gears here, and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but there's two things. Abner Uribe, watching him pitch in that game yesterday there, a little bit of a changeup. He debuted the changeup. They listed it as a sinker, but it was 91 miles per hour, and I don't think Abner's throwing a 91 mile per hour sinker. It's a changeup. You know, StatCast just throws it all over the place. But Abner Uribe, if he has that heater and he has that slider, and now he implements that changeup, I mean, my goodness, that is going to be he's already probably very underrated for the position that he's at right now. I don't think enough people talk about what he's done for the Brewers. Adding a changeup to that arsenal, good night. Good night when you face Abner Uribe, especially if he has control. I mean, I love that. I mean, are you kind of in that same boat seeing him throw that changeup yesterday? It was like, oh, okay, if this works, I love it.
We're already at a point. So, like, we've seen as Brewers fans, we've seen, like, Josh Hader, who had fastball slider. We have Trevor McGill, who's got fastball curveball. And then you have Abner Uribe, who's fastball slider, just closers. I mean, even Devin Williams, who had fastball changeup. We've seen guys just absolutely dominate with two pitches. Even when you have a 50-50 chance of guessing right what pitch he's going to throw, we've still seen guys be, like, damn near untouchable.
Right.
And you give a guy like Abner Uribe, who is already trending in that direction with his two-pitch mix, and you add another ball that's going to move like his fastball, but it's going to be about 7 miles an hour slower. He's going to have guys swinging out of their shoes, like looking silly with how early they're swinging, thinking it's going to be a fastball.
Oh, yeah.
It's very interesting. Wait. And there's pitching lab, we've said this, deserves blind trust. It's not even like we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. No. Pitching lab, blind trust. 100%.
100% agree with you. I mean, the way that they've been able to work with these guys, and now you see a guy like Abner Uribe, who's already a successful pitcher with a slider and fastball, and now you say, oh, he's going to throw a changeup on you now. Like you said, it's going to drop 7 miles per hour slower than his fastball, and it's just going to be like, good luck. Good luck hitting that. When you're guessing two pitches, now you have to guess a third, and he just throws it out there. I mean, good luck with that. One last thing, I kind of talked about it earlier. Tyler Black's starting to rip the ball at spring training. And I know everybody says you can only put so much stock in spring, but you also have to look at the production that he has. And, you know, looking at velocity off the bat, is it just little chip shots to the outfield, or is he putting drives into balls? And he's putting drives into the baseball right now. Do you see the Brewers, and I'm kind of in this boat, I want to see them kind of work him into third a little bit there, try to work him into that super utility role. I know we've talked about him being that backup first baseman, but I think with Jake Bauers and Andrew Vaughn, fine over there. You have a question mark at third. If Rengifo works out, great. If he doesn't, you want to have another option. I'm kind of looking at Tyler Black being that big utility guy for the Brewers who can add that pop off the bench. I mean, is that kind of where you're looking right now?
Yeah, I like that you use the word super utility. Just he did come up as like a first/third baseman. I believe he's played a tiny bit of second base as well.
I think so. Yep.
So if you want to get nuts, like you can try him out, and that's what spring training is for. Like try stuff out. I mean, we had Sal Frelick playing third base last spring.
Yeah.
Like just try stuff out.
Right.
You know, I mean, like you said, just try stuff out, see if he does well. And we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but like a guy like Braden Lockridge, I mean, you're looking at Blake Perkins, Akil Baddoo, you mentioned Luis Rengifo already. You're looking at like 4 out of those guys making the roster. And if Tyler Black can give you that super utility and, you treat Bryce Terang as your backup shortstop, so when Joey Ortiz needs a day off, you could put Terang at short and you could put Tyler Black at second if you needed to. You could have Tyler Black be your backup first baseman if he's playing well, and you can stick Jake Bowers in left field. I mean, there's so many potential moving pieces here. The first thing you got to do is figure out who's going to be your starting third baseman, right? And then figure out who's going to be the backups at all your spots.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to move Ortiz off a short because he's a very good defender. But if the bat doesn't come along and Tyler Black's hitting, you could say, like you were talking with maybe putting Tyler Black at second base, Terang moves over to short, maybe Rengifo's hitting, you put him over at third. Ortiz becomes that kind of, I don't want to say bench guy, but, that defensive replacement that you can use later in games, because if his bat just isn't there, you can only have so many duds in the lineup. And if he's not hitting and it's just like last season once over again, I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping he grew the beard out. It's going to have some hits in it, but we'll find out with Joey Ortiz there. So, Tyler, I got to run here. Let the people know where to find you. I got you guys out there across social media. Yeah,
Wisco Fanatics, Facebook, YouTube is where we do our live shows, and then we're also fairly active on Twitter and TikTok as well. But our live shows are every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and keep an eye out. Our draft series for the Packers on Tuesday nights is going to start up soon.
Make sure you guys check out last week's there with the Packer free agents. They had huge lists. They were going through them all. It was a huge breakdown there. Everything made sense. I mean, you listen to some of these analysts and they name off names and they don't explain them. These guys go deep into it and explain why, who, what, everything in between that you need to know about free agents. So make sure you check out last week's show there if you have a chance. So when we come back, Christian's going to stop by. We're going to talk some Badgers. Badgers have Washington come up today. We have to talk about what we watched in Eugene. We're going to get to it all. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we're coming back in here on this Saturday. This next segment, Christian is stopping by. We're going to talk a little Badgers. I know throughout the show, I just noticed this. I said Christian was coming on next after both of them, and then we had some scheduling problems and everything. And yeah, so Christian's been coming on twice. Here he is. He's on now. So don't you guys worry. The problem is Christian's going through a sleep regression right now, regression right now because his kids are going through a sleep regression. So Christian, I mean, how is that going? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm tired, man. I'm living on two energy drinks a day, and it's going so rough that I actually had to tune into the Badger game on whatever night it was at Oregon, the 10 o'clock game. I actually got to catch that because I was up with my kid anyway.
Yeah,
he forced me to watch it.
What was worse, that you had to get up with your kid because your kid just couldn't sleep, or was it the Badgers playing Oregon? Which one was worse?
Well, I thought maybe the Badger game would bring me a little bit of comfort while I was up with him, but it just made it worse. So I'm going to say the Badger game made it worse, man.
The Badgers made it. I tell you what. So I wanted to stay awake. I was planning to stay awake. I was keeping myself awake. I was sitting up in bed. I was sitting up. I was like, I'm going to watch this. And I fell asleep at the beginning of the game. Like 2 minutes in, I fell asleep. I woke up and it was 21-12. And I said to myself, they're going to win this. They're running away with it, whatever. I rolled back over. I went to sleep. I said, I'm done with this. And I woke up early in the morning and looked at my phone, and the first notification I saw was the Badgers lost 85-71. And my only thought was, what happened? What could have happened from that 21-12 point to the 85-71 finish? So I clicked into it, made the mistake of clicking into it and looking at the box score and saying, what could have happened in this game? And the first thing, and this is how bad it's gotten, Christian. The first thing I looked at, I'm going to get, what do you think the first thing I looked at? First stat that I looked for in this game?
3 points.
Three-pointers attempted. I didn't even care about made. I looked at how many they attempted. 45 threes they attempted in this game, and they made 14 of them.
Program record.
You set a program record and you lost by 14 on the road to a team that's got 4 wins in total in the Big Ten, 3 going into that game. That is where you're at right now. And I know everybody's going to tell me, well, Trage, that's just who they are. They're just a 3-point shooting team. When you shoot 45 of them and you only score 71 points, you're getting your breaks beat off. maybe find something else. Maybe do something else. Maybe work it into the post. Maybe switch it up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the ball screen at the top isn't really working anymore, because when you run it 2 straight possessions and you jack up a 3 and it ain't working, maybe try something else. But no. So you know what? I saw a post. And somebody said, when the Badgers win, we praise Nick Boyd. And when the Badgers lose, we yell at Greg Gard, because Greg Gard coached terrible. I'm going to tell you this right now. Greg Gard didn't coach a good game in this one. I agree with that. Greg Gard did not coach a good game, because there was a moment in the first half when they went on a run, when they went on to 21-12 run. And I made the mistake of going back and watching this game a little bit, and I shouldn't have. But I went back and watched it. And they pulled Nick Boyd out of the game, and they put in Hayden Jones. And I like Hayden Jones. I think Hayden Jones is going to be a talent. He has some talent in there. We've seen it. But when they pulled Nick Boyd out, why? Tell me why you had to pull Nick Boyd out. Why can't Nick Boyd play 35 minutes? Why can't he? You had to run. Why don't you just bury a team? Why do I watch like Duke play Notre Dame, a sub opponent to them, and they beat them by 50 at their place? But the Badgers play these lesser teams, and they, like you always tell me, play with their food. And it just seems like every single time that I watch these, I can blame Greg Gard, because you know what? I think his teams come into these games, and I think he mismanages it. I think he undercoaches, and I think his team underplays. It's a group effort in this one. I'm not blaming Greg Gard completely. I'm blaming John Blackwell. He shot 6 for 18 on the game, but guess what? It was a subpar 22 points in that game. Nick Boyd, 4 for 12 from the field. Poor shooting night. Nolan Winter, he can't even touch the ball half the time, because they come down and they're just jacking up threes. They have shoot 45 threes, and Nolan Winter shoots 4 of them. He can't even get post touches in there. I mean,
he got banged up.
I'm just losing my mind, Christian. I mean, you talk now. You tell the people what you thought coming out this game, because I just have a lot of choice words, and I just got to take a break.
Well, I think, okay, so I kind of jump forward to go back here. I worked on my Washington game preview this morning on Badgerbacker. Check it out. It's all out there.
Check it out, people.
Did I make it free? I think I made it free. Can't remember. But if you check it out, I did like a deep dive on like the correlation between the Badgers' losses and like their reliance on 3-point shooting. Because to me, it always feels like the games they lose, because they shoot a lot of threes regardless, right? But like the game they lose, it almost feels like they're not falling. And like we've talked about, they just keep shooting. They just keep shooting. They shoot to get out. And then all of a sudden they're at the point where they're down double digits, and they have to shoot threes to think they think they need to shoot threes to get back. They need it all back at once, right?
Yep.
So I went back, and it's somewhere in here. I'm going to read what I have, because I'm like, man, I spent a lot of time crafting this part. So one of the storylines I have to watch for the Washington game, and it is directly to Oregon here, is in Wednesday's loss to Oregon, Wisconsin set a program record with 45 3-point attempts, while they hit 15 of them, which is about what they hit against like Michigan and Ohio State, or Michigan and like Michigan State and Illinois, right? All wins. The extreme reliance on the perimeter signaled a lack of interior pressure. There's a common theme in a majority of the Badgers' losses. The data suggests a magic number for the Badgers when they attempt 28 plus threes. They are significantly more likely to lose, especially if the percentage is under 30%, obviously. So the theme I came up with was their losses aren't just about missing shots. They are about shot selection. They settle for good shots early in the clock rather than working for great shots at the rim, leading to a high-volume, low-reward offensive profile. That's what I came up with. So, in other words, they literally do not attack the rim. And when they've been successful, it's because Nick Boyd can get to the rim. Oregon figured that out. And I don't know, again, I think I actually fell asleep the exact same time you did. It was like 1-12. I legit remember that in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Oregon did a great job of collapsing on Boyd. And like Boyd does what Boyd does, and he kicked it out. He found open guys. The only problem was the shots weren't falling.
Yep.
So, but they just kept doing it. Just kept doing it. And it doesn't help when Oregon's got Biddle down there. He killed them last year too. And they figured it out, and it just wasn't their night shooting threes. But again, instead of trying to figure something out, they just live and die by the three. And then they just kept shooting. And Oregon, seeing 30% or whatever the heck it was they were shooting from, just like, yeah, sure, this is working for us. We will just clog up the middle. Boyd can't get to the hoop. Blackwell can't get to the hoop. You guys just have to sit outside and shoot threes. And it obviously didn't help that Nolan Winter got banged up and hurt his leg or ankle or whatever it was, right?
Right.
So I think teams have the Badgers figured out, but it's just a matter of like whether or not the Badgers get hot or if they're just, it's not their night. And then usually you got a pretty good shot to beat them because you just have to clog up the middle and let them just kind of.
That's where if you're Wisconsin, you have to find the post. You have to find the painted area in some way, shape, or form. Nolan Winter is a really good interior player. He can score at all three levels. What's that?
Who else do you have, though? I mean,
no, you don't have
and I absolutely agree with you. You have to do that, but that's not Wisconsin anymore, is it?
Yeah.
You have Nolan Winter, and then, you got Bieliauskas, but the dude's not – he's not an offensive threat. Like, he does a thing here or there, and I think he's more of an offensive threat shooting threes. He's not going to be Ethan Happ down there with these really nice post moves and finishing almost everything at will, right? And I think Garleck's obviously not there. Like, they don't even barely play him anymore. So that's the thing. Like, when they get so reliant on shooting threes, you want them to force it down low to Winter, but the guy can't even barely touch the ball before the shot goes up.
No, that's the biggest thing is getting him involved in that painted area. And I'm not even looking for guys in the post to score necessarily. I'm looking for guys in the post to be passers too. I'm looking for the threat of something down low a little bit there. Just switch it up there and try. Maybe you get guys to collapse. Maybe you force open shots that way. Maybe you get cutters going that way by getting it to the post area. We saw so many times with Steven Crowell where he'd get the ball in the post. They double him. And then all of a sudden here would come, we're talking last season, but you see Max come down or Tanjay or Blackwell cut the lane. And we're missing that aspect where you don't have guys cutting. You're not hitting those cutters. And, Austin Rapp, I think he's very underrated in the post. I think he's done a lot better down in the post area with scoring down there. He's had a couple and ones down there. He's had some nice finishes at the rim. And I just think they're going away from the post to the point where it's not – it's what you said, where they're relying on early shot clock, early threes, where they think, this is a good shot because it's open. Well, there's a point. There's a reason why you're open. They're packing it. They're packing it because you guys can't do anything down there. Get that post touch. Allow your post to do something down there and then see what the defense does. See if they collapse. I think it's easier for Wisconsin to shoot inside out, try to work it that way. There's no inside out movement in these games. And that's the big thing when you look at these games, when they lose like this or lose to Ohio State in the way that they did, it's settling for threes. It's working the ball around the perimeter on one side of the court. It's not both sides of the court. There's no skip passing. There's none of that. It's staying to one side. It's glued to that side. It's a lot of isolation basketball and John Blackwell trying to carry the load. And you looked late in this game here, and John Blackwell looked like he was frustrated. He was giving up. Like it was like I don't want to say giving up to the extent of like he just didn't care anymore, but it just looked like he was frustrated, which you can understand. But when he got frustrated was when he almost started hanging it. He's like, I'm done. I'm done here. We're done. We're getting our butts kicked. And you don't want to see that either. So that's where I say it's on guard. What was the game plan coming into this one? You have to be able to adjust to games like this because you played a team in Oregon. They had nothing to play for. Nothing. They're 11-17 now. They're 4-13 in the Big Ten. They have nothing to play for.
They can go on a run in the Big Ten tournament. They're done after this week, man.
Right. They could go on a run in the Big Ten tournament, win it all, and end up in the tournament somehow. And I don't even that'd be wild if they did. But
only because they have an automatic
crazy. Right. They could do something crazy like that, but otherwise they're done. There's nothing to play for. The Badgers had everything to play for. And that's what worries you moving forward is a team who should have been motivated, couldn't find the motivation, whereas a team that had nothing to play for just came in and beat your brakes off. And I understand it was on the road. I understand that the court's an eyesore. I get all of that. But man, oh man, it just you win against Illinois, you win against Michigan State, you lose to Ohio State, you beat Iowa, and then you go on the road and play a terrible team in Oregon and you lose. So I'm just questioning what gets this team fired up? Because I don't know what it is anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like they're literally, I put it in like my post game for the Oregon game. This team is literally like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, they'll come out and do something awesome, but you can almost expect it. Like, was it the Rutgers game? Maybe. When was the last time that they they didn't play with their food and they just put their foot down in their throat and just dominated a team that they are supposed to dominate? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Rutgers. I'd say Rutgers is probably the closest one. Maybe Penn State. They got 98-71 against Penn State. So
I guess they have a shot to do it against Washington, who is kind of like, dude, these games there's so many parallels. Oregon was going through some injuries, like their starting guard, Shellstead, or I think that's his name, was hurt. Washington's going through a ton of injuries too, but they're like 500. The team the Badgers should be, but again, this West Coast swing isn't easy. But I get it. But like we rip on Mick Cronin and stuff for whining about having to go to the East Coast and stuff nonstop, and like so we can't sit here and complain about it. It's just yes, it's harder. They're playing their internal clock was saying it was midnight when really it was only like 8 to 10 o'clock there. But like I don't know. We'll see how they do against Washington because I think there's a lot of parallels there, and I think they absolutely have to come out. Boy, if they lose this game, they're in trouble.
You know, I heard a lot of people talking about that, the internal clock and it's 10 o'clock and everything like that. But I came to the conclusion of what are you going to do in March when you play a West Coast? What are you going to do in March?
Have to.
Right? You hope that you don't have to. But what if you end up in the West Regional?
Wasn't that what happened? Isn't that what happened last year? Where were they last year? But then they lost to Oregon at home, and then that basically knocked them out of the 3 seed in Milwaukee. They were lined up to play in Milwaukee, and then they lost that game that they should have won. And then all of a sudden they have this terrible draw against BYU in the second round.
Yep, ended up in Salt Lake City, ended up out there
on the West again. So that's it. Yep.
No, I agree 100%. That's where I say, like, you can't – people who are trying to say that's not a good excuse because once you get to March, you could play in any time zone at any time. The games will fluctuate. You could be a 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock start there on a, Thursday night there or whatever, Thursday and Friday of the games. Like, you could be a Thursday night at 10 o'clock. That's just how it goes. You have to figure it out. So I can't use that one. But like you said, this game against Washington – if any game I have ever said, and I probably said it a million times, but if any game is a must-need, must-win, this is it. And this is all I'm going to say about this game because we could preview this thing until the cows come home and there's nothing even you could say. This game right here, if you can't come into it motivated, if the Badgers don't come into this game like everything is up for grabs, if they don't come into this game looking like the team that just needs this game, like is the most motivated, needing this game, I'm scared for the rest of the season.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this needs to be John Blackwell comes into this one and looks like he's the most interested player to be there I have seen all season long. Nick Boyd needs to come in with that same mentality. It needs to be the same from Nolan Winter. They need to crash the glass. They need to do all the little things right in this game. They have to come into this game and just lay the boot on them. For once, lay the boot on a team. Not come into this game. Yep. They're 14-14 right now. And you look at ESPN, the matchup predictor, it's like a 50-50 split.
Pretty close. That's what I saw too.
I was like, wow, like this is a 14-14 team. You're an automatic bid into the tournament right now, and you're lockstep with them apparently. So that's where I know it's on the road. I know it's in Washington. It's a 3 o'clock start now. I don't care what your internal clock says anymore. It's like noon here.
This one you don't have that. You don't have that excuse at all, even if the other one was an excuse, right?
Right. This is everything
game.
Has to be there.
Yep.
Everything has to be there. You need to go 100 miles per hour. Like this can't. If you lose this game, we're coming in next week, and I don't even know what's going to be said, but it's going to absolutely. I don't even know. Like the Badgers need this game today. That's all I can say. The Badgers desperately need this game today for many reasons. They cannot afford a loss here. They need this win. They need to get to 20-9. They need to go into that Maryland game, the last home game of the season, being able to win that one because you have Purdue last on the schedule, and you don't want to go to Mackey needing that game to get off of the 9 line or something crazy like that. Like you can't go into Mackey trying to win that one. You want to win that one, but you can't go into Mackey needing that one because playing in Mackey is really tough. So Christian, I had to run here. Let people know where to find you out there across social media.
As always, you can find me at Christian Borman on all my on Twitter, and you can find all the work I do at the Badger Backer.
Make sure you guys check him out. He's got fantastic stuff there. He's previewing games. He's recapping games. We don't have to preview the game because Christian has you guys a preview for this Washington game. So make sure you check that out before you check out the game here today at 3 o'clock. So that's all we have for today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the rest of your weekend. But until we talk to you guys again next Wednesday, see ya.